I'm Ross, and I have flown in from London, and my body still does think it's 2 o'clock in the morning. But welcome back. Hope you all enjoyed the break. Okay, let's get into it. So, quick little introduction. Actually, let's go back. For people who might not know me, I've been in product management about 15 years, product leadership about 10 years. But I've been in organizations in the last 5 or 6 years where I've been building a lot of machine learning and AI tools. I worked for one of the FANG companies without mentioning who they are. If you want to see, check out my LinkedIn, but I can't mention them here. And my job was pretty much to automate 80,000 people kind of out of their roles. And what we ended up doing was using we're one of the first organizations in that org to use LLMs, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. And then since then, I've been working with a lot of startups outside of Cambridge and setting up product orgs and working mainly with product ops people and with my community, which is called Top Prods. We've got a couple of hundred product ops people in there that we help them build various automations and build out various agentic AI stuff. I know there's a lot of people here who've got various different touch points and experience, whether it's an AI or machine learning or agentic or wherever it is. So I'm just going to assume you guys don't know a huge amount or haven't built these things out, but we'll go through them and there'll be a lot of time for questions at the end. So the AI promise versus reality. So you'll notice that this doesn't quite add up to 100%, but this was a survey with a couple of hundred people that are in product ops in our community, and 87% of them have got AI initiatives currently on the go, but only 12% were getting any actual real and massive, what I like to see as a massive impact. But the problem really isn't the technology. A lot of people kind of argue, a lot of people I talk to argue, hey, Claude 4.5 came out this week, fantastic, or Gemini or GPT, and there's a huge amount of these arguments that go on all the time. But the problem really isn't the technology. The technologies, if it's built correctly, the technology is at a great place, and it has been for a couple of months at least, where you can build some really fantastic automations and start doing amazing things as product ops people with your teams. But there is a new bottleneck. And it used to be that I would come up with a solution and, hey, my engineering team were my bottleneck. I come up with some great features. Well, we thought they were great. We done all our user research. We did all the kind of good textbooky stuff. 3 months later, engineering would come back and go, cool, the feature, the app, whatever, it's built. This is fantastic. That's totally changed. If it hasn't changed in your organization, I know loads of people have been talking about that today, it's going to hit you eventually. When I think of a lot of people in Cambridge that I speak to, it's hit them really, really quickly, where the product manager now is the bottleneck. Okay, it's a major, major problem, because even if you've sat in weekly business reviews, if you've sat in monthly meetings where kind of your product managers will kind of wake up and say, hey, this is what I'm doing, and they'll fall back asleep as soon as they've done that, those days are over. The product managers are now the bottleneck. But the problem still is at 3 months. The product managers aren't going to get that user research like with the click of a finger. It's really, really challenging. So even with every tool having AI in them, and we've seen some awesome tools here today, we're still stuck in silos. But it used to be the silos of, hey, engineering's not talking to product's not talking to customer success, and products are starting to really, really become the bottleneck here. And this is how I see the current AI landscape. And this is all based, again, on surveys that I've taken with my community. AI is really trapped in silos. Someone's got Claude here. Someone bought some licenses for GPT Pro over here. Someone was able to get some amazing budget and got Grok 4 Heavy if they're really lucky. Who knows? But all of a sudden what we're doing is we're really starting to multiply the AI compute costs around your organization. And we're seeing loads and loads of single point solutions coming up. I'm sure you've seen a lot of PRD tools or other tools of AI, and they all seem really good until you end up with 15 tools. And as product owners, okay, I can see some people nodding, and you spend half your time trying to manage those tools. I think product ops has got the best opportunity to fix all of these things, and I'm going to be talking a lot about that later. They've got a fantastic holistic view of the entire product lifecycle, and I think there's a fantastic opportunity to really get intelligent workflows with agentic AI working together. I'm going to be going into that in a bit more detail now. So my real message is to break free from silos and enable true AI value, product ops must evolve. So when I'm surveying a lot of the product ops people in our community, even if you're on LinkedIn, there's loads of thought leaders whose names that are in our community that I could probably mention. I specifically won't for today. But they'll go, hey, we've got this amazing solution. We can, save 5 to 10 hours every single week from product managers. They go, fantastic. Like, what did your CPO say? I was like, well, I couldn't get some time in their diary. And that really, really needs to change. And I'm going to hopefully give you some suggestions on how to do that you'll like. In looking at organizations when it comes to product operations, I think product ops orgs have got 3 layers of maturity. And the first one I call reactive. And this is really where I think a lot of product organizations and product ops organizations really stop. They're putting out fires. They've got ad hoc solutions. And they've got basic processes, tools set up. Maybe they're using Jira. Maybe Jira's new AI tool. Maybe this tool's new little bit of AI tool. And there's a load of reactive fixes. There's AI Slack workflows, still mainly tactical, and it goes team by team. And this is where I think most people stop. And most teams go, as I say, most product ops teams kind of go to die when it comes to AI. The level 2 is systematic. It's starting to really look at getting your processes and your metrics and looking at consistency. There's a great backlog of problems that you've already identified. Hopefully you've prioritized them and you start addressing process gaps, whether it's around customer success, product or engineering, and you're beginning to really start to integrate AI to quickly solve targeted problems. The third level really is strategic, and this is where I want you all to get to, where you start really becoming a force multiplier for your organization. What I'm seeing in a lot of organizations that I'm talking to are telling me is they're not hiring more product managers. A lot of product managers are moving on for whatever reason, and they're not getting backfilled. And that's a major problem. But product ops have got, I think, an unprecedented opportunity to jump in there when they get their voice and when they get a seat at the table to be able to move this forward. Okay, so I know a whole bunch of people have spoken about agentic AI. I'm just going to talk about what it means to me. Everyone's got a slightly different definition, but there are 4 elements of agentic AI that I think are super, super important. First is multi-system awareness. It needs to connect across your entire tech stack. I know we had product board today. One of the unsung heroes, I think, about product board is it's got such a fantastic API that I don't think gets enough attention that people can connect to. I can see more other people are nodding. So, okay, awesome. This really helps. When you start putting out agentic AI, it's fantastic. I don't want to kind of rubbish any of the competitors, but I haven't seen others that do it really as well as this. And I'm going to show you some examples of what we've built here. You also need to have goal-orientated autonomy, and you might want to be able to really start working towards objectives, not just instructions. So in other words, it's not just a prompt, it's a series. I think in the conversation earlier, it was how do we move from a point to another point as well? And sequential reasoning, making decisions based on what it learns. And it can kind of ask you, hey, this is what I think I got, this is what I think is right, what do you think? And then becoming iterative and adding the intelligence. And there's a few really key pieces that you really need to do to be able to build that. And then tool utilization, again, going back to the APIs, you need to leverage APIs, databases, and other AI models, and use some systems that can really, really connect around all of them. Okay, I think you need to build a product ops copilot. I just put the word copilot in there just because everybody talks about it, but I really want to kind of differentiate from, let's say, like Microsoft's copilot, if you've been fortunate or unfortunate enough, depending how you feel about them, to be able to work on it. You need an AI that is going to serve as your right-hand person, your copilot, for product managers and their teams. And I strongly urge product ops people to think about, and this is where I've seen things really, really starting to take off, is you start thinking about how can you create an ROI analysis based on being able to save between 5 to 10 hours per product manager per week. And I've seen people build those things out. And as soon as you can do that, the ROI analyses that you can do, the funding that you can raise internally to get these done really, really start to take off. Okay, I'm going to talk about a practical example. Now, this practical example was built with N8N and LangChain and a whole bunch of other tools. But what it has is talking about taking manual product management processes like product board for priorities. In this specific example, when you see the results, the inputs were, again, product board for priorities. It also has product board for the roadmap as well. It's a real company called Content Swarm, which is part of our community. The people who work there were in it, and we kind of built this out for them. They use Linear for development status, which I think is great. At least they weren't using Jira, although Jira probably would have done a similar thing. They were using Post-Hog analytics for user behavior, and they were using a couple of other feedback tools for sentiment analysis. And then the agent started looking at all these tools and automatically identifying the correlations and delivering insights directly once we built the brain. So that's why my fantastic little AI image with the brain at the middle. You have to build that database and the instructions, put all the information that you can build in there, and build the brain, and then you can connect all the other tools to it. Again, I really think that product ops can make this possible. When I talk to a lot of product managers or product leaders, I've probably spoken to over 400 in the last couple of years through our channel, which I think we've just hit about 140,000 subscribers. Product ops really makes this possible because product ops gets the foundation. It probably has the biggest holistic view. It's got cross-functional influence, product process ownership, and it can, if it's done really well, scale best practices. But where I really love product ops, and I love shining a light on product ops, is they have the ability to kind of take a step back, whereas a lot of product managers end up in what I call the messy middle. I remember having a conversation with a guy in our community as a senior product leader at an organization in London, and he was like, Ross, I know we've been all talking about how to save 5 hours per product manager per week, but I just haven't got time to get on a call and discuss that. And I remember saying to him, like, did you just hear yourself, man? Did you just hear what you actually said? Because I think there was a quote from Gandhi, I think, like, if you haven't got 10 minutes to meditate, you need an hour to meditate. And I probably screwed that quote up totally. But I think the thought there is pretty much the same. And so many product managers tell me that, like, would love to do it, haven't got the time, or can't get the time on my CPO's thing. You need to work out how can you get that 5 to 10 hours saved per product manager per week. And it could be multiple, and it probably will be multiple agents. You could have one for competitive intelligence. And hey, competitive intelligence isn't going to save you 5 to 10 hours per week. It's probably going to save you a couple of hours every couple of weeks. But if you think about how many product managers need to have a proper competitive intelligence agent that is going and educating them regularly. And as product managers, they all know, and I put myself in this box as well, I knew I had to do it all the time. Never did it. Never happened. And I would love to outsource that. And by putting it together and by being product ops, you can really be in a position to enable AI agents to connect across all of your tools, which I'll be showing you, identifying correlations that you would have potentially missed otherwise, and delivering insights directly to those teams. And lastly, freeing up those 10 hours plus per week. If you start off with that kind of, hey, if you can go to product leaders and go, look, we've got 20 product managers, they each earn on an average, I don't know, let's say $150,000 per year. If we're saving this amount, it very, very quickly becomes an absolute no-brainer to have a conversation. And if your product leader or your CPO, whoever, isn't interested in saving that time over that number of people, you're probably working in the wrong organization. Okay, so I'm going to go through the next couple of slides are really just going to be the output that I was talking to you about. So I built this with the developer. We built all these agents in N8N, as I mentioned, with LangChain. I was thinking about doing a video and showing it, but it just looks like a few circles turning over, and it's pretty boring. But the outputs, I think, are pretty exciting. So here's the first output based on this. So remember, we've got Linear, product board, Post-Hog, and some other sentiment analysis tools. And inside that is everything, all the OKRs. We've got all the product strategy, the product vision, all the tools are in there. So it's really awesome. And what came back for Content Swarm, the company, is, and this is the first slide, the executive summary. And on the executive summary, you say, okay, we've got two key insights. One, stable user engagement, but much more kind of worrying is critical insight, funnel drop-off in comment posting. So this tool is about posting on LinkedIn. It's like a Hootsuite for LinkedIn, if you think about it like that. But there's a massive funnel drop-off. So all of a sudden, critical insight. Okay. The next output, you probably can't read that here, and that's fine. But just kind of if you just squint your eyes or glaze your eyes over a little bit, you should see there's a lot of kind of green at various levels, and there's a little bit of orange there as well. The next output is, and this is what I really, really like, is prioritizing the recommendations. So based on everything that you're doing and that it's looked at, I don't know about you, but as a product manager, I would have looked at it and gone, I'm not even going to think about the green stuff. The green stuff seems like it's taken care of, but oh my God, we've got to investigate the comment posting drop-off, which was consistent with the executive summary. And I would probably, as a product manager, go, hey, if I've got a red, hang on, we've got a major problem, we'll get back to the medium priority stuff. And then, and this is the bit that I really love because it puts it all together, it creates a implementation roadmap. Kind of, hey, this is what we suggest. I realize you can't read it, but it's kind of saying, hey, we said the commenting drop-off was really, really bad. We really need to get you into it and to be able to move forward. And so all of a sudden, if you put all those four things together, it's like, hey, here's critical, get into it. Here's an overall, here's some recommendations, and here's a roadmap of exactly what you have to do. And if you think about how many tools, that it takes to do this, that you should have an insights within like 5 minutes of looking through this, of knowing exactly what your next steps are. You might want to go validate that and go back into PostHog, Amplitude, wherever all your tools are, and just validate it. But essentially it's gone, hey, hang on a second, this is fine. And if I was as a product leader in my weekly business reviews, I'd be like, look, I know the problem, I've identified the problem, I've identified a likely solution and a roadmap and a way to solve it. And I think all your product app teams need to do that. If I could have renamed today's session, I would have renamed it as in shift happens. The shift is happening. We're seeing more and more people in our community that are building all these teams, and they're going from the manual busy work. And hey, my personal philosophy of having led teams of upwards of 200 product managers would rather go to a burnout workshop and work out how to be less burnt out than actually go to the source of it and realizing you're doing a lot of busy work. And the reason I believe that is because if you're focusing on what you really need to do, where human judgment matters most, in other words, the real strategic work, it's really scary. You can get things wrong. I've got things wrong, been fired. Hey, it's shit. Okay, it sucks. You have an opportunity where things are going to go wrong. And I think that is why product managers would rather spend a lot of time being really busy. It is hard. But I think with these AI tools, you can get to be able to make those strategic decisions a lot quicker. I'm going to go through this slide pretty quickly so that I can open up to questions as quickly as I can. 3 actions. Get started. Audit your stack. Start doing discovery, map out, and find what your opportunities are. Try and spot them. Try and then pick your first wins. What are the quick wins, measurable impact, measure your projected ROI that you can really do, and then start building your foundation. Start thinking in terms of systems as opposed to tools, and then get to excellence. And I've seen that those gains already start compounding. Anna at Ceros, one of the product ops leaders in our community, she was able to do this within 90 days. She was getting an absolutely amazing ROI for her team and got some clarity and was able to get more and more iterations of it approved. Okay, that was a bit of a whistle-stop tour, but that's been our experience. And yeah, I'd love to open up for questions. I don't know if we have a mic going around or if you just put your hands up. Oh, you do have mics. Okay, awesome. You guys rock. Thank you.
When creating agentic agents, is there a structure or baseline that we should be creating for them for the negative, positive prompts that will contain its behavior?
Is your question, do you need to work out which prompts to be able to do to build an agent? Is that really your question? You should look at it more as a system. It's not like just prompting a GPT. So if you're building an agent, and I'm specifically talking about in this context, because you could argue like Claude has got agents and MCP servers, and you can connect to Asana and stuff, and you can argue that's an agent. But what I'm talking about is actually creating agents for your entire product management team. So you'll have a number of those agents, and each of those would be prompted separately based on what you want to do. So for example, in this example, I would have had an agent extracting all the information out of product board, and that would have gone into the executive summary. I would have had a specific prompt for that. I would have had a separate agent going and looking through all the OKRs and the roadmap of where everything is. So you would want it to be like quite granular. So it's almost like do one piece of work, that's probably got its own prompt/agent, or if you think of an agent as a prompt, that's not what I'm suggesting, but you could think of it like that. Yeah.
Got it. So follow-up question. If I could use one resource to get started, where would you recommend?
I suggest you use N8N, and you can host that locally or outside of that. It's got all the connections that you need there. But don't try and... Sorry?
Repeat it?
N for November, 8, N for November.
Hi, my name is Christina. I'm just wondering, have you seen any pattern in what kind of org is finding this type of approach most valuable, is buying into it the most often? Just curious about the impact.
Hey, Christina. Lovely to meet you. Great question. Yes, organizations where the product ops leadership and the product management leadership have got really strong relationships. They're able to get it done. And again, they're looking at where can they measure a very specific ROI. So, for example, there's one organization in the EdTech learning space that's a unicorn. Their VP of product operations came to us, and they were looking at starting off with just trying to fix Jira and Jira stories. And they were thinking if they could just get that done, their ROI would be like 500 times based on what it would take to build. And they were like, let's get this done. And they wanted to just create a bit of FOMO for the rest of the organization. Like, hey, if we can get this, we can get this response. And then that VP of product operations, she actually was super proud that after getting this right, she actually automated herself out of a role and got promoted to another role within the organization. So yeah, great relationships. It's like if your product leadership are not taking you seriously, it's gonna die really quickly. Great question.
What's your take on how product ops as a function itself is going to evolve? Do you see it basically moving towards just like AI-powered single IC supervising a lot of agents, or like product ops merging with other ops functions and optimizing across all of areas of operations? Would love to hear your comments.
Thank you. I love that question. What I'm seeing is there are less product managers and more product ops people coming. So I'm seeing in a whole bunch of organizations, smaller orgs, but in medium orgs as well. So I think it's going to eventually kind of trickle up if you can do that. I know gravity says you shouldn't, but I think you'll go from organizations with 40 product managers and 4 product ops and probably 8 product ops and 20 product managers over time. So I'm seeing product managers leave, not getting backfilled, huge amounts of stress. Product leadership are getting a huge amount of pressure at the top from financial headwinds and not being able to get the budgets they need to replace. And a lot of them are starting to look at how they can get a lot of ROI with AI, but their product managers are too busy to do that. It's the product ops people that can come and do that. And when they're getting the systems completed, the ROI measured, then they're able to move on, and then people are investing more in product ops. That's where I think everything's going to go. So yeah, I think product ops are going to be managing all these agents. And I've seen orgs where it's like there's a VP of product ops and they've got 3 or 4 people and that are doing it. But where I'm seeing them is getting more of a seat at the table with product leadership. So a VP of product operations and your CPO end up becoming best friends. Whereas probably 6, 12, 18 months ago, it was more like, hey, that's the person who manages Amplitude. I'm being a bit facetious, but not very. Great question.
Just a quick question on when you were showing the dashboard with all the insights. Sure. What did that tuning process look like, and how long did that take?
How long did it take to build it? Is that
to make sure that the data that was spitting out was to the level that you wanted?
So actually building it didn't take that long. It took a few days. Writing the evals, which you would have heard about this morning, and writing evals and testing it would have took probably over 2 weeks. But it wasn't 2 weeks worth of work. It was improvements, improving. So it's like it gets really good the more iterations you can do, just like anything else. Great question. Great to see you.
Hi, Ross. Thank you so much. I love your presentation. I am curious about change management, and obviously what you're presenting, kind of creating systems, is a no-brainer, but naturally I would expect to see some friction. What kind of friction have you seen from teams in implementing this and actually rolling it out in real life?
Okay, great question. A lot of the product ops people I'm talking to are change management people, and they love it. And a lot of them come from that into product ops, or they come from product into product ops. But it's a change ops function in my perspective. The friction is really coming in where they're not getting a seat at the table. They're not getting heard. And sometimes it's because their management are just not great people to work with, in which case probably should go somewhere else. Because if they're not listening to you, from my, I've worked as a product leader. My right-hand people were always product ops. My view as a product leader was they can save me from myself. I'm kind of, product manager. Hey, we can do them. They're like, hang on a second, Ross. Let me tell you where all the mines are. Okay. And product ops people know that really, really quickly. The other thing is, just to give a massive generalization, but having spoken to hundreds now, product ops people aren't the kind of people that really like lights shone on them. That it's not about, hey, look at me, look at what I'm doing. And I think it's naturally the people, and I think that's great. They're great, but I think they need to get louder and more vocal and explain that, and strongly create strong cases like around the ROI cases. I think when they don't do that, the friction is they're not taken seriously, and it's just like, again, they're the people who manage Amplitude and Product Board or the tools, whereas they need to own the tools and improve the productivity. And I think they don't communicate that clearly enough. And the other source of friction is product managers, let's say mid-tier product managers, are just too busy. And that, like that guy mentioned to you, I know you'll save me 5 hours a week, but I haven't got any time to talk about it. That's the other friction level in the middle, which drives me nuts. So, great question. Bailey.
Hi, Ross. Thank you so much. As a very technical products person, where would you suggest that I start to learn about possibly creating my own agentic AI agent?
Yeah, I still think, look, there's a couple of solutions out there, right? There'll be the solutions that'll be like, hey, it's as easy as 1, 2, 3. And I remember building chatbots in 2016, 2017, and all these things, chat fuel, and they all build themselves as easy as 1, 2, 3. And they were, as long as you didn't try and do anything particularly challenging. So I would still suggest N8N. There's Lindy. There's a couple out there. N8N, I think, is the most established. What I really like about it is it's got all the connectors. And the other thing is, if you're not technical, you can get Claude does this really well. Claude Code does this really well. You can actually get it to write the JSON, so write the code that you could just copy from Claude and paste into N8N, and it will essentially build all your connectors, and then you can just go through and kind of debug them, if you will. Bailey, I'm happy to show you a couple of examples.
Great, thank you.
Cool.
To give a round of applause here for Ross.